Chris, welcome to the first Fireside one-on-one, whatever we want to kind of call these kind of chats for Insurtech UK. You're one of our brand new officially unveiled partners.
Yeah, which we're delighted to be so.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about what you do and why you kind of joined the movement?
Yeah, so I've recently taken over as MD of a company called BMC Recruitment Group. My background is in insurance and sort of we specialise in insurance, finance, sales and marketing as well. And I think coming from the insurance background, I've got a massive amount of time for what's happening in the Insurtech world at the moment. It's really exciting. There's obviously a lot of capital that's been deployed into it, and there's some amazing businesses that are looking to start up and scale up, and we want to try and help partner with those guys and help them through that growth stage that they're going through. It's just a really exciting time to be part of it. So yeah, absolutely delighted to be part of the movement.
Thank you. And personally, being on the Interim Council, it was when we found out that you had insurance experience and understood the kind of world as well, I think it was a good fit for the founders, certainly. So really excited to work with you and hear some of your ideas. So I think the idea of today, firstly, is to introduce what you do, which you've done fantastically. Now let's pick your brains a bit. So we've got a few questions that have been pre-prepared, and hopefully you kind of got an idea of what we're going to ask. But I think the first question is, obviously we're talking about the recruitment piece in the wider picture. So a lot of these questions are strategic. What are the best practice methods, so to speak, for interviewing people? Because you start a new company. What are you going to do? How are you going to write that script?
Yeah, I think within an interview, it's a two-way conversation, isn't it? It's not just about getting the best out of the individual. It's about articulating your message to candidates as well. I think a lot of the firms that are in the Insurtech space, they're kind of doing things that are new, funky, different. So I think you really need to be able to articulate exactly what it is that you do, what the values of the company are that you're starting. And I think just putting candidates at ease, so you actually get a true reflection of what they're about, and I think what their aims and ambitions are. And I think that's going to be the most important thing for startups, is that they're fully aligned with where they're looking to go. A lot of the people won't have done stuff in the tech area, they will do, but in the insurance bit and the sales and marketing, it will be very different. So it's going to be quite hard to get candidates nailed down on exactly how those skills are transferable. So it's just really about getting, I think, that the right person and getting that person to be able to articulate what it is that they bring to the company. You
talk about the right person. Where do I start to look as a founder? Obviously, we're all in the business of recruitment. Where would you recommend founders are looking? Because I know that there are obviously a lot of fundraised businesses now, and they're starting to realise talent is needed.
Yeah.
Where should they start?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is really, I think, deal with people that you know, whether that be through a recruitment agency that knows you and knows your business, or actually people that you know through your through your social circle, obviously, and work circle as well, so professional circle. So I think if you can get people that won't let you down, that's the most important thing. Getting some people that are really bought into you as an individual and business, whether that comes from externally or internally. But I think internally probably start off with the first, because that's the most important bit. But you need to think strategically about it as well. I think your recruitment process needs to be mapped out exactly what you're looking for, and you need to be talking to somebody well in advance of recruiting them. To get the best talent, you really need to be looking at a 6-month, 12-month period, I think, in terms of those kind of people that are really going to make a difference.
It's almost like a fundraiser.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just about really, and identifying the kind of person that you're looking for.
That was one of my questions, is how can you tell the time's right? And actually, you have to be able to tell well in advance, is pretty much what you said, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think it's really important that you know what you're looking for, so that you can actually find that person. If you don't actually have an idea what you're looking for, then it's really hard, even if you're doing it yourself or going through a third party, to find that right person. And I think right now we're in a situation where, because of the nascent nature of it, that people don't really know what the business is. Is it an insurance business? Is it a technology business? Is it insurance a prerequisite to get people in? Or is it that somebody who's been involved in the sales and marketing arena? And I think having a real idea of where that talent pool is going to come from, I think is really important.
And if we're planning this far in advance, what kind of red flags should we be looking for earlier in those conversations? Is there anything in particular that when you're having these early chats, you should be asking or kind of prodding to get those red flags kind of out in the open earlier sooner than later?
So I think there's two bits, isn't there? There's red flags for the candidates, I think, and stuff that you've got to really articulate well to them. I think a lot of these guys.
So that's where you can trip up.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think there's you really need to be able to articulate to the candidates what they're joining. A lot of them will come from well-established businesses that aren't entrepreneurial by nature, and I think you need to, you really need to be able to articulate to them why they should make that jump. So that's the red flags for the candidates, but I think the red flags for businesses, I think, is actually really drilling down on what they've done in the past and how they've done it. I think when you look at a lot of people that come from well-established businesses, that they kind of hide a little bit behind the brand. Obviously, when they're going to move over from a big brand to a small brand, it's a very, very different message.
They're in the trenches.
Yeah, it really are, and it's what value are they going to add and how are they going to value that, how are they going to add that value to the firm. So it's really challenging them in a constructive and nice way, but making sure that they are going to add value to the business.
And when you're avoiding your own red flags, communicating two hires rather, are you selling a story, or are you trying to look as professional and incentivising as the incumbent? What's the balance to that? How do you get that right? Because it's mostly story, isn't it, as opposed to security? So
no, absolutely. I think, so you've got to own the narrative, and you've got to know what the narrative is and where you're going. And I think that's what's getting a lot of people excited about the Insurtech space, is that there's a story behind it. We can, it's take over the world kind of stuff. And I think what you're looking at is a lot of the big players that are already there. They stayed. The chances of progression are quite small actually within those organisations. You're usually waiting for the people to leave. With this, you're making your own future, and I think that's really exciting for people to get involved with that. And I think particularly around sort of the guys that are aged from sort of 18 up to 35 that are used to technology. They've got different ideas and coming from a regulated background as well. It can sometimes be stifled. So I think that's looking at that area of guys to come in where they've not been browbeaten by compliance and all that kind of institutionalised and all that kind of stuff is that's where you're going to get some great ideas coming through.
It sounds like the hot zone is maybe got a bit of experience but not too much. So that's probably a good hint for everyone. And talking about people changing their life decisions and joining Insurtech, I mean, is there a time of year people are doing this? On their birthday, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve. I mean, what time of year is good to look at recruiting, especially if I'm planning now in advance? Should I have a schedule?
Yeah, I think it's you should really, if you're doing your business plan for the year, I think you should probably map that out in terms of what it looks like and who you want to be speaking to well in advance, because like I said, some of these conversations take a while. You'll be getting people you'll be starting conversations with people, and it is a bit of a jump, so you need to start them early as possible. But no, I don't think people turn around in the new year and say I need a new job.
It's not off the back of bonus time.
Sometimes. I mean, that was always, but that shouldn't stop somebody. That shouldn't stop somebody from joining the business if they really want to. So in a way, actually, if they're willing to walk away from a bonus, that's a green flag, isn't it? Really, to say, actually, I'm really sold on you and your company.
And from the perspective of hiring, obviously a lot of Insurtech UK members are already hirers, already doing this kind of stuff. And from your perspective, you're a recruitment consultant, so you'll do a bit of the interviewing on other people's behalf.
Yeah.
Have you got any tips that maybe they're obviously great at interviewing and hiring themselves, but is there any best practice for conducting an interview that you'd be mindful of, or our members should be, that they maybe haven't considered?
I think it's articulating in advance to the candidates what the expectations are when they come along to an interview. I think that's sometimes the worst thing, is that people will come along to interviews and will not really understand fully what it is they're being asked to present on. And I think if you articulate that in advance, you'll sort of separate the wheat from the chaff a little bit there, because if they're willing to put the time in, the research and the prep to come and give a presentation about what they can add to the business, I think that's sort of really helpful as well. So just setting the agenda well in advance, and
but not getting them to bring customers for you like certain fintech companies are really to do. So from the perspective of interview practice, obviously you hear stories, don't you, about the tech giants having these huge, great aptitude processes and things like that. Yeah. How can a startup with smaller amounts of resource really across the piece judge a candidate? So it's not just the questions. Are there resources that are accessible for startups, like aptitude tests and things like that, the psychology side of things that they probably couldn't afford relative to Google?
Yeah, so I think that what we tend to see is that, particularly on the tech side of things, is that people's CVs tend to speak for themselves, and if they've got demonstrable skills that can show that they've done it in the past and how they've done it, I think it sort of moves more into difficult around the softer skills. And I think part of that is doing the research in terms of if you're using a recruitment consultant, in terms of speaking to the network that's out there, so you can actually find out about the person and do your due diligence on them. So I think it really depends on the business. Some people might come from a really sort of techie background and really want to do that. Other people might not. And I think what you've got to also understand is that we're in a position where there is a fight for talent. out there, good talent, and if you make the process too long, particularly if you're not a Google, that can turn people off as well. So it's just getting the balance right between making sure you get the right candidates and go through the right process, but not make it too drawn out.
I've got two more questions. The next one's about university talent.
Yeah.
And I guess there's two sides to that. People that are actively looking for a job now, the grads, and people that might be in the future. You mentioned about planning well in advance. I mean, should Insurtech also be branding well in advance to people that are starting university to kind of lay the foundations and get the hot talent now, or are they literally on the wheel, hire what's coming out of university and that's the focus?
No, I think if you're looking to build a business over the longer term, this is definitely something that you should be looking at, and I think it's where the insurance market has probably fallen down in the past, is that your average person in the insurance market is 55, male, probably overweight because he's drunk a little bit too much as well. And I think what we need to do is get that diversity and inclusion within the inclusivity agenda is to target the talent young. I don't think that right now insurance or insurtech is seen as a career path when you compare it to the likes of banking, corporate finance, but it should be, because it's a really, really exciting space to be in. And I think as an industry we need to be out there sort of shouting about it. And
so we need to be engaging early as a sector, as a community, as Insurtech.
Absolutely.
And the last thing, we chatted briefly about some of the things that you offer as a recruiter.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about some of the ways you differ and what you do and what the benefits are of using a recruiter generally.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that obviously we've got that's probably would stand us apart is the fact that we've got personal experience in insurance. So we've built teams in the insurance world, so we'll know what you're talking about, which obviously really, really helps. I think what we're looking to do is partner with firms and get involved with them from the start up, so we really know what makes them tick and we can really identify the right talent for them and partner with them. That's really, really key for us, is we want to be long-term partners with our clients rather than transactional. Here's a CV. Hopefully we can earn some commission on it, but that's not really what we're looking for. We really want to be vested in businesses, and I think one of the things that probably stands us apart as opposed to our competitors is we'll give a 12-month guarantee when we're working exclusively with our partners, and that's if somebody happens to leave within 12 months, we'll offer a free replacement, and I think that kind of hope
sounds like an insurance policy.
Exactly, it does, doesn't it? Indeed, I think particularly when the costs of acquisition of staff are quite high when you use a recruitment consultant. I think that should hopefully be music to our partners' ears, and it is. And thankfully, in going for 5 years, we've only had to use that 3 times. Which
good metrics.
Good, yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much, firstly, for joining the mission of Insurtech UK and partnering up. And I'm sure the founders would love to hear about more of your expertise in the sector.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much.